everybody listen to Darren Carter. Yeah. We all know he's the party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, then listen to a Pocket Party. Pocket Party. Darren.
And we're back, everybody. It's your host, Darren Carter, the party starter. I want to thank everybody for rating and review the podcast on Apple. It really does help the show, and I thank you so much for that. And everybody that's left comments on the YouTube channel, Darren Carter on YouTube, we do appreciate it. And here's Mike Black. We're going to call him right now. Mike Black is back.
Guys, everyone keep it down. I'm doing a real big, important podcast.
That's right. He's doing the Pocket Party podcast. Starting that party in your pocket. Keep your mind out of the gutter, buddy.
They've all, yeah. Everyone put down their hors d'oeuvres and silence their phones at the big party that I'm at. They're all just sitting here listening.
That's right, man. Hey, we're recording this after Thanksgiving and before Christmas. And I got to tell you, man, it looks like a Christmas bomb went off in our place, man. It looks amazing. My wife, I come home last night from the Comedy Store, and there's like candy canes and red and white stripes and Frosty the Snowman and Santa Clauses, and the whole thing is just, I love it.
Multiple Santa Clauses.
Multiple Santa Clauses, and I'm looking at stockings and all kinds of snowmen and red bows. Man, it looks really cool here.
What would you say is your favorite decoration currently?
Favorite well, number one, I love the colors. Just the colors, the red, the white, really pops, against these white walls. My favorite decoration would have to be probably the big sign that goes across the wall at the top. It says "Merry Christmas." That's probably my. I don't know though. Then again, I'm looking across.
That's your favorite?
Yeah, forget that. That's not my favorite. My favorite is probably
the sign.
Yeah, I like a sign. I know. I like this. Okay, I'm looking at another decoration above the fireplace. My wife.
There's a guy at the mall who's like, my favorite thing is the informational map.
It tells me where to go and how to get out of here. Exit.
Says you are here.
It's all about me. I love it. You are here. And how does it know? Yeah. It's a red dot. I'm looking at the fireplace, and surrounding the fireplace, there's she's made like a red and white stripe border that goes around the fireplace, and above the fireplace there's a red bow, 2 candy canes, and like a silver ball hanging from the ceiling of like a frosted, snowflake. A frosted snowflake. They're great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty amazing.
I know. It's funny.
Wait, it's a big silver ball or a big silver?
No, it's like it's smaller than a basketball, but it's like these hanging silver snowflakes, like 3D, because they're like.
Oh yeah, I've seen those at the mall.
Yeah, they look really cool. They're and then I see some more stockings over there. That's cool.
Let me ask you this: when you were a kid, what was the most memorable, or did you even get to go to one?
How dare you? I don't know what you're going to ask, but how dare you?
Well, you never know.
Did you ever get to go
to visit Santa Claus at the mall?
I did. I did get to visit Santa Claus at the mall. And then I remember I had a question because we went to another mall to look at something, and there was Santa Claus there. And I was like, wait, slow down. How did Santa Claus get from Manchester Center Mall to Fashion Fair Mall? How did that happen? How did he do it? How did he get there faster than? And that's when I was, I started. Yeah. Oh, he sled. It's really fast.
Beat you in traffic from one mall to the other mall.
Yeah.
Seemed like more of a miracle to you than delivering presents to all the children of the world.
Yeah, around the world and going down there, getting his big ass down those chimneys.
You were able to buy all of that, but it was like, wait a second. I've been on this drive before. There's no way he beat us here.
There's no way he didn't hit traffic on Blackstone. This is crazy. Parking alone is insane. Yeah.
Especially for a sleigh with 8 reindeer.
Yeah, I did. I remember that, and then I remember
Darren, he, just so you know, to make you feel better, he parked on the roof.
Oh, okay. I was wondering, and then I remember
And he turns into magic dust when he goes down a chimney.
Oh,
And then reappears as Santa Claus at the bottom.
which makes sense because if you've ever watched Star Trek from back then, it would be. Remember, they would.
Yeah, they would teleport that way. They're very similar technology. It's actually powered by the cookies and milk that you leave him.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, when you're a kid, Christmas is. I remember going to get like a real Christmas tree. We used to get real Christmas trees and the smell of the Christmas tree, and
Yeah.
like especially at night, like we'd have
So
like
you
this.
guys would get the real one that had like otters living in it. And
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly. Hey, look, we also got a squirrel with it. This is amazing. Yeah. I remember, especially at nighttime, like as a kid, we'd put our Christmas tree in the living room, this living room there, but we wouldn't really go to that one room. Like that was more like, when company comes over or like Christmas time, like we wouldn't spend a lot of time there. So it was kind of like this special kind of like room, right? And I just remember at night, like the Christmas lights would be all wrapped around the Christmas tree, and just the way how pretty that looked, and like the soft lights and the smell of the Christmas tree. Then you'd have like that skirt that would go underneath the Christmas tree, and all the presents would be underneath it, and it was just a very peaceful, calming feeling. And then the wishful feeling of like I wonder what I got for Christmas, that kind of thing when you're a kid.
What was a thing that you really wanted and didn't get? And what was a thing that you got that you were like, I didn't even know I wanted this. This is awesome.
The thing I always wanted, and I put this down every year, which is so silly, was a monkey. I always wanted a monkey, of some sort. And guess what? As an adult, I bought one. I bought like a fake monkey down in Hollywood at one of these costume like Halloween shops. It was a lot of money. Like at the time for me, it was a lot of money. It was like over $100. Now it'd probably be over like 300 or 400.
Wait, for a fake monkey?
Yeah, it was huge though. It was like it had real grips. It was very lifelike looking. We even nicknamed him Junior, and we'd buy like overalls for him and stuff. And
Who is we?
Me and my wife, pumpkin activities. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really was hoping that you were single at this time. It was very difficult to imagine a wife that would put up with a man owning a fake monkey.
I know. It was cool, though. It was like, wow, look how his grip is. Like he would like grip and hang from stuff. And he always had this.
I assure you it was not cool.
Yeah. It's like, hey, his name is Junior. We still have him.
It happened and you enjoyed it, but
yeah,
it was definitely not cool.
Yeah. But I always wanted the monkey, and then I never got one, even a little fake one. But whatever, you make your little Christmas list. I remember like hinting around too, like if you really wanted something. Like at the time, I wanted one of those. I think it was like a hippity hop ball that you would jump up and down on, and it had handles. And
yeah. Oh, I remember that thing.
Yeah, they had like a yeah. And
I think it was called the bop ball or something like that.
Yeah, it was basically like these exercise yoga balls, if people can picture, but then it had like handles, and then you would jump up and down, like you would sit on it like a horse, and then kind of bounce. And
I would be happy with one of those today.
It was cool. I remember looking at the Sears catalog wish book. I used to love that wish book.
Oh man!
Remember? And they
preaching to the choir on that.
Yeah, and they I would just love that, And I remember leading up to it, because they had one that was like a horse, and so I would start to really dress up in all my cowboy outfit.
I remember that. Yeah.
2-3 weeks out, well, I'm really into westerns, Mom. I love cowboy stuff. I sure, hinting hello. The only thing missing from this project is a horse, like this hippity hop ball, And
they had they had superhero ones. They had a Spider-Man and Hulk one. Sure, and a Superman and Batman.
Oh, cool.
And it was like weird little inflatable heads of them with handles on their ears. It was like just the weakest excuse to slap superheroes on a thing, basically, But yeah, I remember that. I really wanted one of those. Did you ever get, you might be a little older, but did you ever get or want a big wheel?
Oh man, I did have a big wheel, but I always wanted a green machine.
What was a green machine?
Oh, it had like two handles had a handle on the left and a handle on the right, and you would pedal out in front of you, like your legs would be straight ahead in front of you, and you would pedal like that, and then use like these, basically like your e-brake, like your emergency brake. Those would be like how you'd steer it.
Oh yeah. Okay, and now was it like the big wheel where the wheels were all plastic?
Yeah. So sometimes it would be a little hard to get the traction going, you know.
Right.
Hey.
Well, I had a hand-me-down big wheel.
Oh.
And my brothers had literally skidded so hard that the actual big wheel was flat.
Wow.
And so I would drive it around and it would go like bum 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 because it was so flat on one side.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was not supposed to be the case.
I think I saw something once on I forget that show with the dudes that had like the two mustaches and they would try experiments and stuff. It was on like A&E or something like that.
Oh, Mythbusters.
Mythbusters, yeah. And they were testing out a car, putting square wheels on it, because apparently once you get to a certain speed, it doesn't matter if the wheels are round or square. And but it was one of those videos you watch 10 minutes of it, and then it's like, stay tuned for part 3, and you're like, oh man, like I wasted 10 minutes watching this thing.
Those guys are nuts. One of them, on his own time, I guess, built a functional Iron Man suit.
Wow. On his own time.
Like, you can see videos of it on YouTube, but it's effectively bulletproof except for certain like armor-piercing rounds and stuff.
Wow.
It can fly a little bit, not a crazy amount.
Wow.
But he, through doing all the stuff he does as a movie prop guy, he was able to make a material that's lightweight and bulletproof.
Wow.
And he was telling a friend about it, and he was like, oh, you ought to come by the college lab. We can 3D print that up for you. And he was like, okay.
Wow.
So they printed him up. It's pretty cool. It's worth checking out.
I wonder if the military is into that, or maybe they have their own version. They're like, you know what? You have fun with your little toy, buddy. We've got the real thing over here.
Yeah, they probably have something like that, but a lot of it's the cost effectiveness of it. Yeah. Because you could make one, but it would cost a lot of money to make a really good functional one, Oh
yeah, especially how heavy it could be.
And it's one of those things too that it's kind of like the Hitler time machine thing, where some guy wrote a really brilliant tweet. The whole thing about, they ask people, if you had a time machine, what would you do with it? Yeah. Well, most people answer, well, I would go back and I would kill Adolf Hitler. And some guy wrote a response to that, which is, that's a great goal. However, keep in mind, if you fail, which everybody in World War II did up to a point. Yeah. If you fail, you have just given Hitler a time machine.
Whoa. Yeah.
So it goes from being the greatest thing ever to the worst possible thing ever.
Gosh. Oh, it's true.
And that's the same thing with an Iron Man suit. If you fly into another country to,
here's how you get around it. Here's how you get around it. You put dwarves in there. So then most people can't fit into the Iron Man suit.
They have them in every country.
Oh, they do? All sizes dwarves. And shapes? Oh, dwarves. Yeah. Oh, they have... Yes. But first we round up the dwarves.
Yeah. No. All you've done is promote a dwarf.
Damn it. I know. He's like, finally, I'm the general of this operation.
Yeah, he's the James Bond of his country now.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Yeah, there's I'll leave it to someone above my pay grade on this time machine. Because I was thinking, I've just tried certain clothes that you can't fit into, and I'm like, oh, what if this was an Iron Man suit from the future?
Yeah. That would really suck to have access to an Iron Man suit and be like, I can't fit in this thing.
Yeah, do they have just the vest version where I can just maybe put the vest on and leave the thing unzipped?
Yeah, that seems like a bad idea. Yeah. I'd at least get a crash helmet,
I'll bulletproof. I'll just back up into my enemy.
Right.
Yeah, because I have it at the front. I can't zip the front, buddy.
The thing I would like most on that suit would be the jet boots. Yeah.
I'm out
And
of here.
I would kill myself within an afternoon of that.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff as a kid you dream and think about all that stuff like flying and this and that, those flying suits. But as an adult, you're like, how about I just go maybe like 6 inches off the ground? That's as high,
Right.
That'd be kind of cool. Like how they have like those wheelies or those shoes that have wheels on them. Like they're regular tennis shoes, and then all of a sudden you somehow like can wheel into places.
They have those for adults. You can get those.
Oh, I think they're called Heelys.
Yeah.
Like imagine if they had like jet boot type things like that, where you could just go like 6 inches off the. Wouldn't that be great to like just fly up to the Comedy Store like stage?
Oh yeah.
Here's Mike Black, and you're like 6 inches above the carpet, and you land.
What jokes are you going to do that are going to top that, though?
That's true, especially if you're the only one that has that.
Right? Yeah. You've just blown everyone's mind. They're not ready for jokes.
So, anyways, I have a little minor problem with my oil on my car. No, talk about those crazy flying boots you have.
Yeah.
What's the deal with air traffic? You're just
Tell us about the future.
Yeah. Yeah. Enough of your like minutia about your cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
So I'm in line at the deli.
What about the hoverboard? Would you rather have a hoverboard from Back to the Future?
Yeah, I think so, right? Because that's especially if you could balance on it pretty good. Because then that way you could always jump off and just have regular. You could just run. With the jet boots, you're kind of stuck wearing these things.
Right. I imagine them being like ski boots, like they're very cumbersome.
Although it would make hiking a lot more interesting. Like go to Runyon Canyon or Griffith Park or one of these places. Like you could like hike up and then eventually be like, oh, I need a little assist, and then. That's the thing. Everybody would just, not everybody, but a lot of people would just be like, forget the normal hiking. Let's just use these jet boots everywhere.
Yeah,
like,
I would.
Yeah, exactly. Like most people would probably just do that. Like then.
Yeah, and I would not die.
Right.
Like if you decide to hike and like rock climb or whatever and fall, you've got jet boots on.
That's cool. Jet boots. Let's trademark that.
Did you ever happen to see the making of Back to the Future?
No.
Or making of Back to the Future 2, I guess, where they have the hoverboards. The guys in there, as a joke, said to the camera guy, they were like, oh, hoverboards actually exist. We've had the technology for years. We just can't release them to the public for safety reasons. But it's basically two big magnets on a board that have enough lift from the Earth's giant magnetic field to give you enough lift to move around. And he was like, they don't work as well in real life as they do in the movie, but they exist. And every kid in the world that saw that thought it was truth.
Yeah.
And we were like, when are we getting hoverboards? And it's like, that technology does not exist. And we're nowhere close to getting hoverboards.
It was pretty trippy. I remember like the first time I started seeing like that unicycle type hoverboard looking thing that has the one wheel.
That they call a hoverboard that isn't.
Yeah, and then but they're motorized, and you can like, or motorized skateboards, motorized whatever that thing is. I was actually at Griffith Park. I was hiking up towards the observatory, and somebody behind me goes, I heard a noise like on your left or something, and I look, and dude, it looked like I don't know, what are those guys from stormtroopers from Star Wars? It looked like the guy had the helmet, the bodysuit on, and he had a motorized like hoverboard, and it wasn't just him. It was like he had like 5 guys with him. He was the first one. Then he had 5. And dude, let me just put it this way. I look back, and then there was more, and then there'd be a break, and then more would come. And it turned out to be about between 80 and 100 of these like stormtrooper guys going up this very steep. I'm talking one of the steepest part of the hill. Like it was so steep that in the past when I remember one time I was getting over a cold, and I told my son, I go, I can't really talk on this part. Like this part I'm going to run out of breath. So let's just wait till we get to the top of this, and then we could start talking again, because it's really like that. And then this particular day, it was around 4 p.m, and I told myself, let me see if I can jog up this whole thing without stopping. Like it's pretty hard to do, but I don't know if I was just, let me see if I could do it. and I started running or jogging slowly, like whatever I could do. And that's to give you an idea how steep this thing was. And it was insane to see these guys. And then there was a guy coming down the hill walking his dog, and he pulled to the side and he was kind of scolding them like, "You guys aren't supposed to be on here. You're not supposed to be on here." And I just kind of ignored him when I walked by because I didn't want to choose sides. But the next day I was at the park ranger area, and I saw a park ranger, and I told him what happened. I said, and the guy goes, "Yeah, if that happens again, call us, because they really are not supposed to be on there, because there's horses that go up there and they could scare the horse, and could whatever." They had a reason about, but still, I was pretty impressed with like how powerful those things were just to go up a hill like that. I mean, it's like, straight up.
That's a lot of power to be able to do that.
Yeah, especially the weird way it was made. It was like this unicycle type thing. I guess they must have really good balance.
I guess, yeah.
Or something to go uphill like that. But
so, okay, when you visited Santa, what was the most impressive setup that you remember?
I would say in more recent times, I went to the Glendale Americana, and there was like this. They have like in this center. It's kind of like the Grove in L.A. And it's the same guy owns both of them, and it's the Americana, and it has like this giant Santa Claus house like this that they build, and they put it in the center of the square, and so the center of the square, you've got like the Santa,
and it's already like a beautiful area.
Beautiful area, and they have music playing all the time. There's a fountain, and there's these special shops where it's like this fantasy land. It looks like a snow globe. Like if you would look at a little town inside of a snow globe, that's what that looks like, that area. And then you go, and it looks like that, year round. And then when you go into Santa's house, it looks like Santa's house. It's really cool. And there's like this line and candy canes and this and that. And what's really cool on a personal level is I know a guy over there, so I have a hookup. And he goes, whenever you're going to be here and you take your son, he goes, just give me a text and I'll move you guys into the VIPs. So that was like, yeah, it was awesome. I know. If you ever need to go there, and if that guy is still connected, I'll hook you up.
I may have kids just for that.
Just for that, right? Just to go in there.
Just to use that hookup.
Yeah.
Now, what is Santa's VIP area like?
Well, the VIP basically is you don't have to stand in some long line and wait an hour. You can go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you enter through this other area. It's like the airport, like you got the.
I thought maybe he had like some fancy first class service where you get lobster or something while you're waiting for.
Yeah, you actually do get your presents that you ask for.
Yeah.
Santa, this year I'd like 3 cool Ray-Ban sunglasses and a new camera for my. Yeah.
PlayStation 5 for my friend Mike. Yeah.
PlayStation 5. Oh, let me ask you a real quick video game question. Then I want to get into Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I love that movie. If a person were to get into video games now, like let's say starting next year, and they don't know anything about any kind of console, do they go PlayStation or do they go? What's the other one? I don't even know. I have no idea.
Xbox.
Yeah.
There's other smaller companies, but if you're just starting out, Nintendo, of course. It depends. What are your favorite kind of movies?
Movies?
Yeah.
Comedies, I guess. Comedies and action movies.
Okay, if it's comedy and action, yeah, I would go with a PlayStation 5. First of all, those, how every video game system you ever had like a long loading time?
Yeah.
And it would be like, we're loading. The PlayStation 5 doesn't have that at all.
Oh, wow. The last time I owned a video game console or whatever, it would have been like the PlayStation, I don't even know what it was, 1, 2, whatever it was. It was back in 2006.
Okay, what was your favorite game on that?
Grand Theft Auto.
Then yeah, PlayStation 5 is probably your best bet.
Yeah, that was the only game I really like. I bought like 5 games. I think what happened is I booked a couple of voiceovers for video games, And I was
Okay.
like, oh, wow, this is a cool thing. It's like the whole movie industry, except it's video games. And I was like, man, maybe I
Right.
could be a part of this and get in this industry and, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, I'm going to get, and so I just went down to the GameStop and bought like random games. But that was one that people recommended. And
Yeah.
I got that one. Is it called Gran Torino, the racing game? Or
Yeah, that's a fun game.
something like that. But my favorite was my absolute favorite was that game I just told you, Grand Theft Auto.
Grand Theft Auto is amazing. You on like PlayStation 5, you can get the whole series of that.
Oh, wow.
From Grand Theft Auto 3, which was kind of like their big breakout game, to all the current ones. And they'll look better than they've ever looked, and they play faster and everything like that.
I mean, I was blown away. I thought how realistic it looked back then, because previously I usually was kind of bored with video games. Like I'd go to my cousin's house and he'd be like, "Hey, check out this game," and it would be like, I wasn't into it, or my buddy would play like that Madden game, and I'm like, I don't really play football. I don't know how to play.
Well,
yeah.
If you like that game, and considering how much you love cowboy stuff, the game for you would be Red Dead Redemption. Where it's basically Grand Theft Auto, but in the Old West.
Oh, wow.
And you get to do all sorts of, like, you're a bounty hunter, and you're also part of like a bad gang, but you're the guy that's turning it around and trying to go good, but they make you hunt down the old gang. But all the side missions are authentic Western stuff, like you can hunt for pelts and stuff like that.
Wow.
And there'll be like legendary animals, you get a lot of money for wolf pelts, but there's like a legendary real badass wolf out in the forest somewhere. And if you kill him, you get like 10 times as much money, and you get to keep like one of his teeth as a necklace and stuff.
I think I think it's called free play. Like I don't really like missions or following, like I just want to do my own thing.
That's what it is. But like you can just be wandering around.
Oh, that's cool.
Across, like a legendary bear, and it might kill you and eat you, or if you kill it, you'll get a bunch of big rewards for it. Or like outlaws will call you out in the street for a showdown. Like you'll just be walking along and they'll be like, "You killed my brother" or whatever, and so you have to have like a gunfight with that guy. And you can spend the whole night just playing poker in a saloon, and then come back to the story whenever you want,
Have you ever watched any of these 3D comedy shows or whatever they're called, like the?
Oh, like virtual comedy where?
Yeah, what are they called? Like
parking lot? Yeah,
like in the metaverse or something like that. Is it?
Oh no, I haven't gotten into the metaverse stuff yet at all.
What's the metaverse? Is it like this video games but even more intense?
Yeah, I think it's closer to like virtual reality, but I'm not 100%.
Yeah, like the way that you said you played poker.
You walk around as yourself and fly to like virtual target.
Because I've seen that they're starting to put on comedy shows and these things. Like this one guy that I know in Texas. Do you know Al Gonzalez? Like he puts on like these shows, and somehow he partnered up with Keenan from Keenan
Thompson.
Yes.
Yeah. No.
These guys do shows. Dude, I sound like an old man. Yeah, they're doing something on FM radio now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, I haven't really delved into any of that yet.
That'll be interesting. Imagine like if that really takes off, where you're like, see, I'm a little bit, as comedians, we have to be open to these new ideas, but then part of me is a little resistant because we're like, well, I tried comedy on Zoom. I don't really like that, but
Yeah, it's like, to me, it's a comedic thing, but I don't consider it stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
If you're not in the same room with people.
Yeah, where they're like, because a friend of mine did a show like that. He went down to Facebook he was paid to go down to Facebook headquarters, and from the way he described it, there was like nobody in the actual like room. I'm like, that sounds terrible. Like,
Yeah.
Because I know another guy that did Zoom comedy, but he did it in a really smart way. Like he said, he would have like 10 to 12 people actually in the room. So he's performing for the 10 to 12 people, and the camera just happens to be, broadcasting it on Zoom. That was during COVID, like when you know.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
Yeah,
I mean,
well, it sounds terrible, but it sounds better than where you're just like at home with your laptop doing your act to your laptop. That was terrible. The first one I did was terrible. It was like,
right.
I opened up the thing and there was like, you only see like the 5 audience members and the squares, and like one kid was eating cereal, and I'm doing my act. And I'm like, yeah, my wife, and this kid just like eating cereal, and then his mom like leans over his shoulder and was like, what are you watching, Eric? And then I'm just like, yeah, so there I was with my wife. And it was just like, oh my gosh, that was terrible. So when I talked to this comedian that said he had he goes, I have like a cheat code. I have like real people in the room, and I play to them. I'm like, oh, that sounds way better than, I mean, it doesn't sound as good as being at a real comedy event, but.
Yeah, but that's what makes it a real comedy event. He's got actual people there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, just performing via satellite, basically, there's no appeal for me to do that. You know, because part of what makes it fun is the live audience reaction. You know,
I know, man. Like,
and if they're sitting there eating Cheerios and stuff.
Like last time I was at the Comedy Store, I was in the OR, the original room, and right before me was last second drop-in, celebrity guest drop-in was Jeff Ross.
Uh-huh.
And it's cool because he's hilarious, he's funny, and guess what? He and I look very similar. So we were both wearing black T-shirts, and, you know, he's probably, I don't know, 50 pounds heavier than me, maybe. He's a big guy. And he did his thing. He's like, good night. He walks off. Even when I showed my wife the video this morning, she thought that was me up there. She's like, wow, I thought that was you. Oh my God. That's like, I mean, we look that much alike right now, you know, both shaved heads. And it's a live moment. Like, he walks off. Fraser Smith does a couple jokes, brings me on. And the first thing I said was, how many people think I'm Jeff Ross? And I just walked back up on stage, and they're like, yeah, I went backstage, exercised for a little bit, lost 10 pounds, I'm back, or whatever. You know, I made some kind of in the moment, like, you know.
Nice.
Yeah, because that ain't going to happen if you're just in your living room on your, you know, laptop.
Right.
It's those real life moments.
Yeah, and people can just go to the fridge whenever they want, and, you know. Yeah,
you want that. Yeah, I love what Steve Martin said in his book, Born Standing Up. It's distraction is the enemy of comedy.
Oh yeah,
you know,
it absolutely is. You ever try and tell a joke to someone and they start asking you questions about the joke while you're telling it?
Yeah,
it just destroys it. You know?
Right?
Or what kind of farm is it? It doesn't matter to this story. Well, is it day or night? I will get to that in my own time.
That's hilarious. Hey, speaking of Steve Martin and the holidays, I want to tell you, I finally got to see again, and we had a great experience. I watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I love that movie. I've actually only watched it once, and it was a couple of years ago. And I'd seen clips of it through the years, but I never watched it in its entirety till about 2 years ago. And then I remember last year we tried to watch it, and for whatever reason, it just didn't hit, you know, with the family. But this year, as a family, we watched it. We loved it. It was great, and it was so cool to share it with my family. I think the time that I tried before, my son was maybe a little too young. You know, even now when we were watching, and he's like, "That's what a hotel looks like." A kid, you know what I mean? So
it's his frame of reference is totally
exactly. And my wife doesn't really love to travel, so I think it brought up anxiety of like, why you don't love to travel.
Well, that movie's all about the anxiety of travel, you know.
Right, and man, guys like you and I, we can totally relate to that, man. Like flights getting delayed and having to shock up.
It's one of those. Yeah, if you're a comic that's ever done the road, that movie gets funnier every year, you know.
Yeah, the things you can relate to. Oh my gosh, it's like, and then now that they've, you know, introduced Ubers to our world, where you don't know whose car you're getting into and what the vibe is like. I mean, that's, you know.
Yeah.
Man, so
and that's very similar to the way the cabs used to be, where it's like you're really putting a lot of trust in this person you've never met.
Yeah.
You know, to get you to a hotel where it's the same situation, you know.
Yeah, so let's talk Del Griffith and Neil Page. And the, I guess, For people who've
Del
never,
Griffiths from American Light and Fixtures Company,
yeah, and if people
shower curtain ring division.
tell people the plot of the story if they've never seen the movie, the idea, what they.
Well, the basic idea is that Steve Martin plays a urban professional in the 80s who is trying to get home for Thanksgiving to his family, I guess, a few states away.
Yeah, he's in New York, and then he's trying to get home to Chicago.
To Chicago, that's what it is. Yeah, he has a
His name is
business
Neil
meeting,
Page.
and the guy that he's meeting with just will not make a decision at the end of the day. Holiday weekend, big traffic ahead. And so he finally gets out of there, and a guy steals his cab.
Yeah.
And he gets to the airport, and then it's all just a series of horrible events.
Yeah.
On the way to his destination. But he ends up falling in with Del Griffith, played by John Candy, who is a traveling salesman, who also happens to be the guy that stole his cab.
Yeah.
And the two of them don't really hit it off, but John Candy thinks they have and decides that they're best friends and travels with him. And then at some point they do become friends. And you see that, like, John Candy is just kind of making it his own mission to get this guy home in time for Thanksgiving. It's a really great story, and they meet all these crazy people along the way, and they both change dramatically by the end of it. And it's a really good buddy comedy. Maybe one of the best ones ever.
Even the anxiety in the beginning when he's in the boardroom meeting and he's like looking at his watch, he's doing the math, like, okay, it boards at 6:15. I have to be. Okay, if it boards at 6:15, I have to be there at 5:15. I have to leave.
Right.
Here. He's doing that.
And the guys, meanwhile, the boss is just not making a decision.
Yeah, and then finally,
now, do you know about the after the credits scene of that movie?
Oh, let me think. Did I stick around after the credits? I don't know. What happens?
They show the boss, and he's still trying to decide between those two pictures. But he's got like a leftover turkey sandwich and, like a Thanksgiving plate set up there. So he was there through the entire thing, still trying to make a decision. But John Hughes, who directed and wrote that movie, is the one who actually started the modern version of that, of the after the credits scene that Marvel has done so much. But in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, after the movie's over, they show Matthew Broderick's house, and he comes out of the bathroom in a bathrobe with a towel on his head, and he looks at the camera and he goes, "You're still here? It's over.
Yeah.
Go home." And so, as kind of a nod to that, in Deadpool, after the credits, Deadpool is in that house, and he comes out of the shower with the exact same bathrobe and the exact same towel on his head, and he goes, "This movie's over. Nick Fury's not coming to recruit me to the Avengers or anything. It's done."
That's funny.
Yeah, speaking of which, he's a very big fan of John Candy, Ryan Reynolds. And in Deadpool 2, if you blink, you'll miss it. But there's a scene where Deadpool's reading a book. And the book is called The Canadian Mounted. And it's
that's hilarious.
It has like a slutty Canadian Mountie on the cover of it. That is the exact same book that Del Griffith was reading.
Wow.
When he meets him in the airport.
That's funny. I picked up on that this time when I was like, who would read a book like that at the airport?
Yeah. Oh, that guy would.
Yeah.
The same guy that takes his shoes and socks off on a plane would do that.
Oh, my dogs are barking. Yeah. Also, I think...
Yeah, you were talking about Ubers and Lyfts. Remember the guy's cab, Doobie?
Yeah.
He had like a lowrider cab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a funny car.
Yeah, John Hughes said that was his favorite movie that he made by far.
Oh, wow.
And he made like Home Alone, Breakfast Club, all these great movies. And he said that was his favorite one to work on because those two guys were so talented that it made it just really, really easy. You know, they'd have a great scene already written, and then the two of them would just add to it and make it theirs, you know.
Yeah, all those details. I mean, it's like, okay, anything that could go wrong in a hotel room, let's write that, you know. And they just kept, you know.
Well, and even some of the like good things, like the blowing off steam, like that part where John Candy is listening to Ray Charles in the car.
Yeah.
And he's like playing the keyboard on the dashboard and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's edited so beautifully, and he's so good. Like, you can tell this is a song he really loves.
Yeah.
And it just comes across so beautifully in that moment. And it's like, man, even just the little things like that. Or like, one of my favorite moments in the entire movie is when Steve Martin has a hotel, but John Candy doesn't, and he's freezing outside.
Yeah.
And he looks at the window, and he sees him, and he goes like, how did I get hooked up with this guy? And it's just such a little beautiful moment.
Yeah.
And then the next shot is, he, you know, of course he invites him in, and they're, you know, partying with like the mini bar stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I was like, it was just such a great moment. It's kind of the turn of the movie, I guess.
Yeah,
but,
when they go, this feels like camp or something. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Why do I feel like I'm at camp?
Yeah, that was cool. And
How
then
the hell do you turn this thing off? Ah!
Yeah, and you really do feel like Del Griffith has a good heart, you know? Like, remember when he, even at one point when I think he did use his credit card to buy something, the rental car, and he was like, I was going to put it back, and then,
with interest.
You feel like, I believe him. I think he really was, you know? And then,
and like, he was one of those guys that it's like, they described it on The Office really well, where Michael Scott has to fire his friend Todd Packer, who's their like road salesman, because he tries to give him an office job, but he's like harassing everyone and telling like really dirty jokes all the time, and just generally being terrible. And they cut to him on the camera, and he goes, "There are outdoor cats and there are indoor cats. And one thing I learned from having a lot of cats is you cannot turn an outdoor cat into an indoor cat. It just doesn't work."
That's funny.
That's basically what that guy had become. He'd been on the road so long and been alone so long that he was just very much an outdoor cat, you know?
Yeah. I mean, how I just picture like when Steve Martin's in the shower and he looks at, from his POV, the towels, and there's like all the towels are on the floor or on the counter. And there's like one tiny washcloth. It's like, like all those little moments of when you've had to share a room with another comic, or, you know.
Yeah, his underwear is in the sink and stuff. And it's
yeah. It's hilarious. And there's another thing that, I would not have gotten this reference like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, but it's hilarious when they're on the bus and Steve Martin tries to start a sing-along, and he goes to an old school Frank Sinatra tune.
And it's one of the most beautiful songs in the world, 3 Coins in a Fountain.
Yeah, 3 coins in a fountain.
And it is totally true. Everyone there looks at him like, what are you doing, you asshole? You know, like, why would you, what a jerk.
Yeah.
And then John Candy starts up with the Flintstones. Meet the Flintstones. And everyone just goes nuts.
Yeah, it's like crowd please. That's like how comics can be. There's the one guy who's esoteric, and I'm going to pick this beautiful, and then no one's really feeling it. And then here comes the road hack, the outdoor cat that knows what the people want, and like Flintstones, meet the, and they're like, yeah. It's like, yeah.
Wait till you guys see my Arnold Schwarzenegger impression.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I know. But it's so relatable, so fun, especially at that time. Like, I'm sure, like, everybody knows the Flintstones, or, you know, like, that was just, like, the perfect upbeat, fun song. Like, everyone could sing along. And
Yeah, it was the perfect choice for a song for him to sing.
It was so good, and I love that. I know we talked previously before, but I love that monologue with Edie McClurg where he's at the rental car place, and
Oh
apparently
yeah, God.
there's no. I guess there's no cursing in the movie up until that point, and at that point, I think I read there was like 18 F-bombs within a 1 minute period, but that's what made it so effective.
Yeah, yeah. It's some of the best movie cussing that's
Yeah,
ever been put on
because
film.
she's so giddy and happy, and she's like gobble gobble.
Yeah.
She's on the phone with, I guess, her sister, and they're talking about the crescent, like crescent biscuits or whatever. And
Right. And she, as a person, she had such a great spirit and such a fun-loving sort of vibe that she's the last person in the world that someone should be taking out their aggression on.
yeah,
So the fact that he's been pushed to that point where even her energy is not enough.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't care who it is.
Right.
They're gonna get a piece of my mind.
How did she? Do you remember that line? Because she hangs up the phone. She goes, "Hi, how may I help you?" First, you can start by. Yeah, what do you say?
We already did this entire thing on the last.
I don't care. I want to hear it again because now I've seen the movie. Yeah. You can.
Well, I'm not gonna do the whole monologue.
Don't do the whole monologue, but just that one part.
Starts by saying, you can start by wiping that dumbass fucking smile off your rosy fucking cheeks.
Yeah, your rosy fucking cheeks. And then he goes on, this happened, that happened, my fucking this, and my, and then at the end he says something like she goes, "Oh boy."
Oh boy, what?
And then what's she say?
She goes, "You're fucked."
Yeah, oh boy, what? You're fucked. Boom.
Yeah.
Love that. So hilarious.
It's perfect cap to that scene.
Yeah. Oh boy, what? That just makes it even better. Because they could have just written it where she's like, da, 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 "Do you have your rental car agreement?" "No." "You're fucked." But no, they didn't say that. Oh boy, what? And I like that other little monologue. I noticed more in the hotel room when Steve Martin goes off on him. I'm like, oh, he's really being mean to him right now. Like it crossed the line where I'm like, whoa.
Didn't you notice when I started reading the vomit bag?
Yeah.
That maybe this guy's not interested.
Yeah.
It's a merciless dressing down that he does.
Yeah. What's he dress him down? What's he say? He goes, if a story doesn't have a point, if it's not interesting, if it's not. Yeah.
Yeah. He was like, when you're telling these anecdotes, have a point. It makes it so much more interesting for the listener.
Yeah.
You're a miracle. Your stories have none of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so good. And you see John Candy die a little.
Yeah.
With each different thing. The performances are just
so good because he goes off on him, and I'm like, wow. Then I thought, well, that really sets it up, like the yin and the yang. And then, because then when they cut to John Candy to answer back, there's like some music kicks in, like very low.
Yeah.
And that pulls your heartstrings even more. And do you remember what he kind of said right there?
Yeah, he said, you're right, I'm a big target. I talk too much.
Yeah.
But I also listen too much. He goes, I try to be a good person, and I'm the genuine article. What you see is what you get. He goes, I like me, and my wife likes me.
Yeah.
And that's one of those little moments in the movie that when they get to, I really don't want to spoil. Anyone who's listening at this point is psychotic if they haven't watched the movie and if they're listening to this entire thing.
Yeah.
But it's one of those clues that he puts together at the end there. And he's like, oh, his wife is gone. you know, it's not that he's out of town. It's he's alone.
Yeah. And I think her name was Marie. My wife, Marie, she apparently, no spoiler alert, guy, this movie came out in the 80s and you've listened this far. Yeah. His wife had been passed away for like 8 years. Yeah.
And he'd just been kind of living on the road, traveling from place to place. And a lot of traveling salesmen do that, and a lot of people that have like traveling sort of work.
Yeah.
They have they may have a place where they keep their stuff, but for the most part, they're just living from hotel room to hotel room.
Dude, I've done it.
Yeah, I did it. I had a couple, honestly, some of the best years of my life were doing road work and just going from hotel to hotel. And I would come back to LA to make sure I hadn't been robbed, and then I would go back out on the road again, you know.
I did I did it really heavy duty in the early '90s, where I'd be gone like 3 months at a time, and then, you know, there'd be a couple days off here and there, but I didn't have anyone to go home to, so it'd be like, well, I'll just get a hotel. You know, I remember like our tour manager. I was on the stand-up comedy tour where we would play colleges. Like the first hour was stand-up, the second hour was like this game show thing we would do, and so his headquarters was in Kansas City, so he'd go home to his wife and kids, and he dropped me off along the 70 freeway. There was like these 3 hotels, and back then they were like, you know, $25 a night, $29 a night, $34 a night, and I'd always pick one of them. And there was a Waffle House across the highway, and so I'd stay there for 2 or 3 days. But I still romanticized the road even back then. It was exciting to me as in my 20s. It was fun. I was like, all right, it's some alone time, and you know. Like, because when you're on tour with these guys, it's 3 guys in a van. 3 guys in a van.
not quite as romantic.
Yeah, and you're driving from town to town, whatever. So it was fun. I'd have my notebooks. I'd go to drink my coffee and go over my jokes, and you know, no cell phone, no internet, nothing. Just, you know, maybe a pocket full of quarters or a calling card to call someone. But I mean, in a lot of those places that we stayed back then were like that hotel, like that, because these colleges would put you up at the hotel. So you'd be in York, Pennsylvania, or like some weird tiny town in Iowa, and you'd stay at a mom and pop hotel, and and then the bigger cities you'd stay in like a better hotel, like, you know, normal hotels. But those little towns, it was like, wow, this is you know, especially if it's, let's say I was doing that in 93, 94, a lot of those hotels were probably built in the 40s and 50s, you know.
Right.
But
and a lot of them were like generational. The hotel owner, their kids are running the place now, you know.
Oh yeah.
And you get sometimes the best food and the best service, and other times it was terrible, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But I remember just being on the road like that, and then putting your money away, but you're right, like saving, you know, making these friendships, right, with people, like they're your friend for that week, or you know, when you're in that town, you know, it's really a wild lifestyle when you think about it. Like it's. I
remember doing a place in Nebraska where they were like, I was hungry, I had just gotten there, and I said, I saw these signs for barbecue in this area. Is there a good place that you can recommend for some good barbecue? And the lady behind the counter goes, sir, I am very serious when I say this. The best barbecue in town is in our restaurant that's attached to this Hilton. And I was like, really? And she was like, we actually built the Hilton around the restaurant.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, it can't be that good. She was like, it really is. Try any of their, they had like these grilled barbecue sandwiches. And they had 3 different kinds. They had, it's amazing how much I remember this meal. They had pork, chicken, or brisket. And I asked the waitress, I was like, what is the one that I should get? And she was like, oh, get the barbecue brisket sandwich. And I was like, done, let's do it. And it came with like these great seasoned steak fries.
Wow.
And like a nice cold Coke. And it was one of those like oval, I don't know the type of bread, but like an oval shaped, like seasoned toast that it was served on.
Yeah.
I devoured it in like 30 seconds. And then I get a text from the headliner that I was with. And he was like, hey, are you hungry? I was like, I'm not hungry, but you need to come down to the restaurant right now. And so I was like, try this. And he got the chicken one. And as soon as he was done, he was like, I could eat 2 more of those right now. And I was like, I know. It's amazing, isn't it? He was like, yeah. So you never know. Sometimes you just fall into these great little opportunities because of that.
Yeah, because of our it's, you ever think about that? Like when you're traveling, like sometimes you'll get off the freeway, go do something, and then you're trying to get back to the freeway and you end up taking some side streets, and now you're like going through some weird residential neighborhood, and you're like, wow, if it wasn't for comedy and what we do, I'd never ever see that house or that yard or that. You're just like, here you are in some place you'd never in a million years would go to unless if it wasn't for what we were doing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, there's always stuff like that. And then sometimes it backfires. Like, I remember, I won't say who I was with, but I was with a comic and we had done some really good shows. And this guy comes up to us afterwards and he goes, "You guys are amazing. I loved it so much." He's like, I really want to pay you back somehow. You know what? Tomorrow night, come to my restaurant. And we're like, okay, great. That'd be great. He's like, "Oh, we have the best steaks. You're gonna love it." He's like, "What a wonderful place. I can't wait to have you there." And so we get there, and he goes, "I got a place for you." And he didn't have a place for us. We sat at the bar, but he made it like, huh?
Yeah.
You're sitting at this high top bar for the entire dinner, and we're like, oh, okay. And so we asked him, like, what's the thing to get here? And he was like, "Oh, these amazing steaks we have. You're not even going to believe how good they are. They're so good." Okay, we'll have the steaks if that's what you think. So we do that. We have our meal. He goes, "How about a nice cheesecake?" Sure, thanks, man. Great. And then he goes, "Okay," and he slides us the bill.
Oh, no.
And I look at the headliner, and I was like, is this happening? And he was like, "I guess so." And he was a sweetheart, but he goes, I got this, because he knew that I wasn't making a lot of money on the road.
Yeah.
And he was like, "I got this, but I can't believe this is happening." I was like, "Well, let me get tip at least," And so.
Wow.
And the guy was like, "Oh, it means the world to me that you guys came out." And the guy was like, "Yeah, I bet."
Oh, wow, what a trip. I remember when I was 22 and did the road for the first time, like really did the road, like drove from California up to Oregon and Washington and Idaho and then came back home. But I remember I did a show up in like Walla Walla, Washington or someplace like that. And after the show, this guy, he told me he owned 2 McDonald's. and at that time, it never even occurred to me that people could, a real person right in front of you can own a McDonald's, let alone 2.
A real person right in front of you.
You know what I mean? It's just, you just grow up thinking, oh, there's Carl's Jr., there's McDonald's, there's Burger.
You don't think that anyone knows. You assume McDonald's owns them.
Right. And he goes, "Yeah, come by tomorrow. Lunch is on me." And he did pick up he picked up the check. Hey, all right. But it was just a trip. It was just the idea that, wow, no way.
The entire $8.50.
Exactly. But he's like, "Yeah, lunch is on me tomorrow." And I was like, and I was, that was one of those things that's very exciting, especially as a young entertainer, performer, comedian. You're like, wow, like I'm meeting people up in high places now.
The owner of McDonald's is
exactly.
Bring him the finest orange drink we have.
I know. You know who I met last night? And I'm going to get him one of his clients on the podcast. That's another great thing about the Comedy Store. You just don't know who you're going to meet. It's really and I hate the word network sounds terrible because it sounds like I'm going to go network. But in reality, you are networking by being in high profile spots and being a comedian and doing well where people are interested in what you have to offer.
Right.
But I hate that phrase when people like bottom feeder type are like, "Let's go to this party and network." It sounds like you're just using people. "What can you do for me?" It ain't that.
Yeah, it makes it sound a lot creepier.
Yeah. So last night, after the show, I followed Jeff Ross, which is great because Jeff Ross is funny and he's famous and he's a star and
he can do a lot for you.
Yes, and also the fact that, yeah, exactly. But just the fact that he's in the room, people are drawn in to come watch him, and a lot of people there are people of power, people of that are successful and they want to watch, a celebrity, and maybe they're friends with them. I don't know. Like anyway, so long story short, he's in the room, he walks off, he leaves, and I'm next. And a lot of the people had stayed. And so I get off stage and I'm talking to a guy named Gary and this other guy who I'd met before. He used to be in the music business. And then he introduced me to his friend David. David is in the music business. And then later on, I go to the patio, and David, he introduces me to his. I find out later he represents him, and he's a country music star. And,
okay.
And I'm like, oh, cool, yeah, because I give everyone a sticker, and he's like, yeah, I'd love to if David could get on your podcast, or Ian could get on your podcast. I'm like, yeah, perfect, do it. Phone in, blah blah blah. We'll do the podcast. Long story short, David owns his own record company. I'm talking about a guy who owns 2 McDonald's. This guy owns his own record company, man. Like, and I looked it up, and he has like big artists and clients I've heard of, and I'm like, wow. I looked him up on this morning. I'm like, oh man, this guy, he's represented at some point like all these famous people, and it's like that's what's really cool about what we do. And then being at the Comedy Store, it's like, wow, like
yeah.
I didn't run into those people in Walla Walla, Washington, and
No.
Which is cool. Walla Walla is fun too, but
but it's just a different set of opportunities.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that's really cool. And plus, there's nothing. I think when you're like young and you move to LA, you might approach things different. Like I remember, you kind of. Anyone that's like a manager or an agent, or you might almost be like, oh boy, you get nervous around. I'm like, what can they do for me? Maybe they could. I don't have that now. I really don't. I'm like, I realize like the business has changed. Things have changed. I mean, people can help us. They definitely can help us, but not like how it was 25 years ago. I don't think, right? I'm going to put you in a commercial. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's different.
Yeah. I don't know that they're any less important. It's just different stuff. There's so much that you can do.
Yeah.
Your own now if you need to.
That's what I mean. I don't mean that they're, but it's everything has changed for everybody. Like in the entertainment business, from the top down to the bottom. I mean, Ari Shaffir put out a special, and the last I looked, it has like over 4 million views on YouTube, which is huge.
Yeah,
and
it's really, really big.
I heard him on a podcast say when he did one for Comedy Central, and they put it on YouTube years ago, it got 500,000, which is a big deal for them. They were like, wow, this got 500,000, compared to like how things have really shifted over to,
Yeah, now you can kind of be your own shop.
I heard it got
at a certain point, like I think you need to have amassed a certain number of followers to do that, but once you have, you can pretty much just run the whole thing yourself if you want to.
Yeah, some of these guys that are very successful are doing that, like Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer, Joe Rogan, I mean, putting their own. Yeah.
I don't know how much longer that'll last. Someone will want to start gatekeeping all of that.
Right. Yeah.
But for now, it's kind of the Wild West,
Yeah, it's cool to see it for other people and to see, you just don't know. Yeah, like if you can have a big following, that can help open so many doors.
Yeah.
Because now when you say, I'm going to be at the, for example, I'm going to be at the Reno Laugh Factory at the Silver Legacy Hotel. If there was, if I had like 2 million listeners and viewers, well, guess what? A lot of them are going to go to Reno or tell their friends, and then now these rooms are sold out.
Yeah. So, who knows?
Yeah. Man, that movie, and then let's get back to the movie real quick before we wrap up. But yeah, and then remember when it dawns on Steve Martin's character what happened, because he says goodbye to him at the train station, and he's on that Chicago loop, and then he starts putting it all together. Oh, I said that, I said this happened. Then it's like, wait a minute. Remember? And then he goes back and he goes, Del Griffith,
I'm so glad he doesn't do that in the movie.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. He's homeless.
Wait a second. Yeah, but remember he goes back, Del, what are you doing here? What are you still doing here?
Yeah.
And Del looks like a little sad puppy.
yeah, that was yeah, it's a great moment.
And he brings him home, and you could tell that Neil Page, Steve Martin, really, as he's looking at his children, and he just really like looks at his wife and just kisses her and is like, I'm home. I felt like I was going to cry in that movie.
You cried.
No, bro. I said I felt like it, bro. I felt like it. I'm an alpha male. I know it kind of sucks when you feel like you're crying, and then you look over and your kid is just not even having any emotion. He's just laughing at the movie.
What a funny movie about two fat old people.
I know. And I'm sitting there going, didn't you guys? I mean, that just was like, it really just hit home with me. Like, their dad's over there crying. Hey, my dad's kind of like a traveling salesman, except he sells dick jokes, you know.
Right. Yeah. He's like, oh, that's my dad. Oh, no.
I know. I was like, it's funny. I wonder if I cried at movies when I was a kid. I don't even know. Like, probably dumb shit like Bambi or something.
Yeah. There's a lot of movies that were designed to make you cry when we were kids, you know.
Yeah. But like Planes, Trains, and Automobiles wasn't one of them.
Yeah. It's an emotional movie, but yeah, it's not one that you would think would have that kind of effect.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's what makes a good movie, right? Like, it can really help when you're laughing, you're having a good time, and then boom, it pulls the heartstrings.
Right.
When it's done authentic, when it works, when it's done like they're forcing it, like, here's the Hallmark movie of the week. You're like, no, I'm not interested.
It makes me think of that part in Return of the Jedi where one of the Ewoks dies, and you see the other Ewoks like shoving him to see if he's alive still, and then they all start crying over him. And it takes, I'm not kidding, it takes about like 90 seconds of film. Meanwhile, the Death Star exploded with thousands of people on it.
Yeah.
You know, all these other tragic things happen, and they'd spend like 5 seconds, and then that's enough of that. Back to the action. You know?
Yeah.
But one teddy bear is killed, and they spend like an entire minute and a half on it.
That's hilarious. Mike, I'll let you get on with the rest of your day, and we'll talk next week, and hope all is well. And if there's anything that a lot of times I used to end the podcast like this. Do you have anything that you're grateful for that you'd like to give a little shout out to?
No, I am doing a show in Pasadena. That's going to be a toy drive sort of show.
Oh, cool.
And that is
December 2nd.
December 2nd. Yeah, if you go on my Instagram, you can see all that stuff. But it should be a fun night.
That's awesome, man. I wish I could be there, but I'll be at the Silver Legacy Reno Laugh Factory. Yes. All right, buddy. Well, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't have any.
Oh, have a good one, and we'll talk soon, and we'll make our gratitude list next week.
All right, sounds good.
You got it, buddy. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. Well, look at you. You made it all the way through. Darren Carter, Mike Black on the Pocket Party Podcast. Go give a high five to the ones you love. Give them a hug. Give them a kiss. And thanks for starting that party in your ear hole with us. If you want to help out, I'm on the Cash App, $ Darren Carter Comic. I'm also on Venmo, Darren Carter Comic. If you're on PayPal, go to darrencarter.com, click that donate button. Every little bit helps, and I really, really, really do appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right, guys, have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Everybody listen to Darren Carter. We all know he's the party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, then listen to The Pocket Party.